Um, Okay. All right, great, Laurel. Tammy, tell me how this week was in terms of thinking about any of this stuff for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love the contour drawing. I do love like cutting things up and doing like collage. And I'm always much better at like cutting things out of magazines to figure out and collecting things for collage.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's one of my goals is to like get over the idea that like or like if I just organize myself so that like the glue and the paint and like all of the messiness is part of like an afternoon and I can handle it, I can
Yeah.
totally deal with it, right? It's
Yeah.
like because sometimes it just gets too messy and I'm not like in a space to deal with the mess, and sometimes I can just dive in and really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So like I do love that part. So yeah.
Great.
Go back to that. And then I just wanted to say that I've been doing art dates with
Yes.
myself and
Oh, good,
my
good,
friends.
good. I wanted to ask people about that too. Yeah.
But it's just been, especially just because of spring, I feel like I can't stop like going outside for walks and then enjoying public art. I was gonna say I went to what is it? I guess Spy Pond in Arlington,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? And there's like
Yeah.
all this cool art. I don't know if you're responsible for it, but I know that you help coordinate all of that stuff. But it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, these weird like yarn hangings and plastic things like in the trees.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. That's not
Right,
my
but it's
stuff. Yeah.
fabulous.
So
It's
yeah.
like based on like the microorganisms in the
Oh,
water.
that stuff. Yes, yes, yes. That is part of what we do on the bike
Yeah, yeah,
path.
yeah.
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 Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, and yeah, what have other people done for their art dates? Sally, you have had take yourself on an art date?
Yeah, mine were more traditional, but what I
Okay.
was looking at wasn't all that traditional. I went just because I'd already planned it to go to the MFA to
Great.
see the Turner show, which I wasn't
Great.
wild about, to tell you the truth.
Hmm.
But then another time I went and with a friend who wanted to go to Turner. So I just walked around the museum and I had a blast at something that I didn't expect, and that is John Singer Sargent. I
Yes.
was looking specifically at the way he applies paint. And,
Yes.
he's messy. I
Yes.
like that. And,
Yes.
and so that was a big opener. And then I went to the Gardner Museum to see the new photo show. Have any of you seen it?
I
It's
haven't
a
seen it yet.
Black African woman talking about racial and LGBT stuff
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
her photographs. And they were well worth going, really
wow.
opened your mind in a funny way. So
See, this is great. Yes, we take ourselves for art dates and we expand what we think we
Yep.
are interested in, and it's just a really good thing. Connie, did you take yourself for?
I actually my art, I'm just now getting into Northampton, sort of.
Yes.
I'm not like Smith College Museum of Art. I haven't even been there yet, and I keep saying I've got to go, I've got to go. But
Yeah.
I've still had a lot of stuff going on. A guy was building my deck, and I have just the house stuff has kind of intervened. But
Yeah.
I go out and walk a lot, so those are my kind of times to.
That's really great. That's really great.
Yeah.
And even reframing, you might have taken a walk before, but now you're taking a walk as, kind of with a mindset that you're gathering information, or
Yeah, exactly.
Collecting, exactly. And
Yeah.
Laurel, what about any art dates? And
Actually, my plan was to have coffee with a friend who canceled with me, and we always talk about. She's an artist, and we talk art, which is great.
yeah.
But she canceled, and I had a movie here that I've watched before, and I got it from the library called My Art. It's Laurie Simmons.
Oh,
And
yes.
yeah. And she does this installation art. Some of it I like, some of it I don't like. The movie, I saw it once before and I loved it. I just thought it was so kooky and interesting, and about how the art of the artist, it's her art, and yet she's collaborating with these other people to make it, and how it impacts them and how it changes her life. And it was the first time I saw it, I loved it, told everybody they have to see it. I could only watch half of it this time, and I'm not sure what it was.
Yeah.
But I was like, kind of, maybe because I'd just seen it before.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, this is the part where this happens and this happens. It wasn't as exciting for me. But anyway, it was still a good movie. Just an insider's look at the art world in New York City, which she is a big part of.
Yes. Oh,
this was kind of autobiographical, and you know, in the beginning scene, which is kind of funny, she's coming out of a museum where she'd been looking at a lot of contemporary art. And she's a teacher, and she runs into one of her students and says, "How are you doing?" And the student does this big, long, humble brag.
Yeah.
"Oh, I booked myself for too many shows this fall. I'll never do this again. I have to be in Europe this time and that time." And she's like, You know, it's just kind of like, okay, that's it happens to everybody. Happens to everybody.
That's so
So
funny.
it was
Oh,
it's a good
I'd love to
movie. If
watch
you
it.
haven't seen it, see it.
I have
Laurie
not
Simmons.
seen it. So
Oh,
Laurie,
it's
yeah.
Mhm.
So Laurie Simmons is a photographer. She happens to be, I think her claim to fame is that she's the mother of Lena Dunham, a fame, you know, from Girls fame.
Mhm.
You know, 30-something, you know, writer and actor and director. I mean, very talented. And she's married to another artist whose name is Carol Dunham. And he's also been, you know, so it's a very New York, very much involved, you know, artist
Yeah.
family. But her work is a lot about feminism and
Yes.
very interesting. So thank you for telling me. I did not know that.
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's worth seeing. And another one I just mentioned it. Where did you go, Bernadette? And this is, yeah, a great movie about an a woman probably younger than me, whose child is finally going off to college, and now she has time to make art again, and she doesn't know what to do with herself. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Familiar.
Yeah, and it's a good movie. It's really fun. Well, the
good.
first time I saw it, it was, yeah. I recommend it.
Great.
Is
Thank
it on
you.
Netflix or where?
You know, I rent them from the library because
Ah.
I project them against my wall in the studio so I can make art while I watch movies. It's
Oh,
like
That's
distracts
a
part.
nice idea. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
you know what? I want to suggest Canopy, Kanopy. It's a library online movies.
Oh,
So you might be able to get it that way. You
Oh,
have to
fabulous.
register with your library card, but they have great movies.
Yeah, you probably can. Great.
Wow, that's good to know. Yeah. So there's so many wonderful movies about art and artists. I mean, wait, I should make a list, you know, and
Yeah.
share it with each other. That's really great. So good. I'm so glad to hear, you know, art dates and, you know, the fact that you are all working and thinking makes me very happy. And I mean, that's it. You know, whatever happens, you're in the studio, you're on the road. Nothing happens if you don't, you know, get in there and think a little bit about it and do it a little, you know, and it works, you know, where it builds on it for every week you do it, you know, it will build, and before you know it, you will be, you know, in doing your work. So
It
you are
does
doing your work.
build. I want to testify. It does build. I
Yeah.
mean, I started painting this giant box for my granddaughter's birthday, and I never do that sort of thing. But I was like, yeah, I'm just going to make art out of everything.
That's great. That is great. Yeah. You know,
Yeah, do it. It
I was
overflows.
gonna say, yeah. That's actually another really interesting thing. That was one of the things I was thinking about actually doing in our class, not this time, but another one. You know, when we make, maybe I don't know if I've talked about this in class, but I'll say it anyway. Again, to have somebody in mind while you're making your work can be extremely motivating and freeing in a way that you might not have realized before. I mean, I'm only saying this because it's happened to me. When I, you know, have sat down to make something for, you know, a friend or family member, it becomes very personal, and I'll do stuff that I never really thought about doing. And I just really recommend it. You know, another thing to do is, and this can be personal, and this can, you know, sort of take us into places that we might not always want to go. And it might be something that is better done, you know, in a more private circumstance, but, you know, but that is to make art with the idea of gratitude to somebody in mind.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You know, and it becomes, you know, incredibly personal. And the personal is what we are after, actually. The personal is the universal, and the personal is the Holy Grail. You know, so recommend, I mean, we can talk about this and we can do this as an exercise in class, but I also, understand that it may be something that you don't want to really do in a class situation, but it's a good one.
Yeah.
I
agree.
feel that, instead of the word memorial, I think the gratitude part is actually more the key to it.
Yeah.
Because then it's more about, that interaction you had with that person. And it doesn't have to be somebody who's no longer with us. It could be somebody who's with us presently, or something that's, so anyway, that's a really good one. Okay, great. What I want to do now is to go to see Padlet, because we haven't done this for a while. I know I keep meaning to do it every week, but let's do that. Let's do this now and just check in on this, thing we had been doing, and it may have been a little bit, I don't know, so see how, love to hear from you about it, but this idea of picking a topic, that, can be a good thing. And also can be sort of too much too soon, too much pressure. So, let's just see what's happened here. So I'm just going to start at the top and work our way across. But Connie, let's see. Let's take a look and tell us a little bit about what your journey has been here as we're looking. What have you been up to in your?
Well, actually, I took a class and I really like what I did at the class. It was similar kind of to what we're doing. If you go back, well, these are before, but I mean the more recent ones. This one, oh, you can't see. I'm trying to point to it, but
No, I can't see. No.
if you see the first one, it says iterations from April 20th.
Yeah.
That was what I did on it's a monotype, but it's very similar to what I've been doing in our class.
Yes.
And I really liked it. I did it with Amanda in her studio the other day.
Oh, great. Yes.
And so I felt like I was kind of continuing in that vein.
Yes.
And I really liked what came out. There were about 3 of them that were really, I thought this was an interesting one. It was lighter, but it was a ghost,
Yes, yes.
So I was really, well, we had the press, which really helped, but I like the green one too, that bright green one. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
one,
And there's no
yeah.
reason you can't do this on a jelly, either.
That's what I was thinking. Why do
Absolutely
I have
not.
to have a press? I
You
can do
don't.
this with the jelly,
You don't. You've got everything you need with the gel plate.
I know.
Laurel,
I really.
yeah, I don't know if Laurel, you know about the gel plate. I know everybody else in here pretty much does.
I have done some, but
Good.
just one. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
You
well,
love them, Laurel. Laurel would love those, I think, because she.
yes, I know. Well, the
Yeah.
gel plate is a way to make prints, at home. And let's see, Tammy has taken my class. Tally, I think you somehow missed taking the printmaking class with me.
Yeah.
Tally, is that right? You haven't taken the printmaking class yet, but
No.
yeah, okay, so this is a very easy way. This is painting, basically. It is painting. The difference is that, it's just once removed, but go ahead, keep going. And
This
so,
was Akua ink. It was Akua.
okay, Akua, yeah.
It does have a nice consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's non-toxic, yeah. So,
Yeah.
good. And tell
So
us about these
So
are,
these are like more of the,
Contour lines.
contour, yeah, blending and otherwise,
yeah.
No.
I mean, this has room, such a fun and, interesting presence. And, it's very interesting because of all the stuff that's on a pineapple.
Yeah,
Good for you. Yeah.
Um,
And this one also, they really do have.
That's also the pineapple, but that's
I believe it. I believe it. Yeah.
But yeah, and then
That looks like a deconstructed pineapple. It's fabulous.
right,
Very
exactly.
deconstructed. So
Yeah,
yeah,
just fooling around with little.
great.
Still
Fooling
lines.
around is where you want to be, playful.
Yeah.
I think in your case, Connie, the idea is just to kind of regroup
Really.
with you and get you feeling comfortable and just getting back into the paint.
Yeah, thank you,
which I'm so
Rachel.
happy to see.
Really
So
good.
each one of you will have, wow, this is really delightfully free and
Yeah. That was the watercolor.
impressive.
Yeah.
That's,
I know.
yeah,
I love watercolor. I think that really got me going too.
that's
you know,
great. But so bring it out again, all these things that you're
Mhm.
talking about.
That I love.
All
yeah.
of you, that resonate with you, that make you feel playful and you have fun with. That's the key. Fun.
Yeah. Fun,
know,
fun, fun.
Fun. It's
Capital F.
yes, art can be serious, but yes, but it's got to come from this playful, curious part, and that's where we're tapping into. So,
Yeah.
yay. Okay.
It was good.
Let's see who else we have here. Tally, we're going to check in on you.
Okay.
Great. So, yeah, so you've done a lot, and tell us too what your, oh, well, we can actually see you've actually written a lot here. Some
Yeah.
things that you've been playing with. Just get right in there, and yeah, I love that you're experimenting and doing all this stuff.
It was funny. One of the things I discovered, because these are the things we did in class last
Yeah.
week,
Yeah.
and they suddenly went from vertical to horizontal, some of them.
Yes.
I don't remember consciously doing it, but it
Yeah.
opened up a whole other way of looking at stuff.
That is
So
great.
I just added paint to
Yeah.
the cut up pieces.
Yep, exactly. That's wonderfully freeing. Yeah. And so you had talked a little bit about this one, still liking
Yeah.
this one, but not sure how to go further. So
Exactly.
that's really interesting. So let me just talk a little bit about what you said earlier as a way
Yeah.
to kind of help, you all to move forward with where you are. So, you do like drawing, and I see that you do, and you do a lot of it, and you bring it in, and for many of the classes that we've taken together, that you've been in with me, I've seen this, and so what I might suggest to you is to maybe isolate out the drawing for a little while and stay with the drawing, Tally. And don't introduce color for a while. I have to say that when I looked last week at this drawing here, I felt this as such a strong drawing because there's a commitment, and also I see that you're really looking at things. There are some of your drawings where I feel that you're being imaginative about it, and that's fine, but there's really something that grabs me. Do others feel the same way about this drawing?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. What is that a drawing of?
Wow.
Well, she's looking down. Oh, well, Tally,
Yeah.
I think, said that she was drawing, this is a self-portrait, looking down on herself, drawing.
Oh, wow.
Great perspective.
Great
Really
perspective.
great.
I know.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the quality of the line, which I'm a big on. You remember last week we talked a lot about line quality, which I think is so important. It has all of those qualities here with a believability. I just want to say that's a way to go. And so you do it really well in that one. And let's find another one where I feel like, let's see, let me just bring up this one here. This is another one where I feel like it has a believability, but not as much as this one here. And I guess what I would say to you, Tally, is could you draw from life for a while?
Yeah, good idea.
I think there's something to be said for that.
Yeah.
There's immediacy and a liveliness that you really captured here. And it's sometimes just a matter of, going back to where you were, what you did here to get that. So I know that actually some of it was imaginative, because how could you possibly draw yourself from the back? So whatever you did here, you did.
Yeah, I actually tried to paint that as well.
Yeah.
But the black and white one really is more interesting.
It captures it. Yes. So could I suggest that, a very good exercise for you to do for the next week might be to use paint and brush, because I think that gives you this wonderful line quality. And it also keeps you from getting into minutia.
Yes.
you have to keep it kind of broad and quickly. And I know that you didn't take that long to draw it, which is fine. You don't need to spend a long time with these. There's something about your immediate reaction. I wonder if you could maybe, and maybe it's asking somebody around you to pose, which is great, or taking, going to a park, and if people is what you like to draw, see what happens when you just give yourself those parameters. Maybe 10 minutes at max, using brush and pen, brush and ink or paint, and working from life. And let's see what happens when you do that, because I think there's something here.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
The ones you showed, the fireplace one.
Yeah.
It's by the girl sitting down. Those I did about 8 sketches when I was out west, because everybody went skiing,
Oh,
and
yes.
I thought I best not ski.
Yeah.
And so these were all probably 10-minute sketches.
Great.
They were really short with a
Yeah.
magic marker.
Yeah.
And this was my first time to try to add a little color, but not get carried away.
Right. And
yeah.
And this one is also interesting to me because there is a way in which you capture character in the face here and others just wonderfully. I am not as fond of this one where, it ends it doesn't seem as thoughtful as some of the others. And I don't know why that is. Like, this is just hilarious and very just right. So there are times when you really capture it so well. But this also could be an interesting series where you could, start doing more of these.
Yes, it
but
could.
but I think that, as I said again, I'm less fond of the hands because I feel like there's more to that. There's more that we're missing. We're missing, and it's missing for me a sort a specificity, I suppose. It's like this is also lacking. The hair lacks specificity, so I'm less interested in looking at it. This has a lot of specificity, and I'm really interested in looking at it for that reason.
Interesting. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I know that. You and me, I'm a big person on representational, but I'm okay with going with you there, Tally, if it helps you to sort of orient yourself and find something that you can really do for a while and do iterations for a while.
Good, thanks.
This one really, that stands out, Tally. That one really does. Go back, Adrian, go back to that. If you look at it on the whole, it jumps out at you,
Yeah, this one here?
Does. No, the one you pointed out, that one, the one that's black and white, this one really jumps out at me. I mean, it's like, whoa, it's like very intense. Yeah, it's very.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I know it. I'm just thinking too that, there's.
I think I did it without taking a photo.
Yes.
And then afterwards, I asked somebody to take the photo just to see how it is interesting to try to imagine your position.
It is, but you seem to have a kind of knowledge of the body. Maybe you've been looking a lot, but the drawing from life, there's nothing like it. And not that you always have to do it, but there's something about it's more direct, and that's what I'm really trying to get from you. More of a directness, and it does happen in the non-representational. But I see you wanting to get representational, and that's great. But so the question is, how can you find in the representational a liveliness and a specificity that's you?
Yes. Yeah.
Now we're really getting into the brass tacks of what all this art making stuff is about. I'm going to press you to it to see what happens when you do that.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's
You're
helpful.
welcome. Okay, let's see. Laurel, we're going to check on you.
I forgot to keep adding stuff.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah.
So
yeah.
there isn't much there, I don't
All right.
think.
Well, maybe at the beginning. Yes, please do. Keep adding, because we will look. So Laurel, tell us a little bit about what's going on in your
Well, this was just, I mean, my playing around with shapes and colors. I like to do the two of the flowers. Is
Yeah,
that the ones you mean? I don't know. Is there a way, is there a pointer that I can use here or?
no, no,
Oh,
just my
okay,
pointer.
never mind. But, you know, that's just regular, like 8 by 12 paper.
Yeah,
And I've always been doing a lot of work, sort of abstract stuff that often will start with masking off areas with
Mhm.
tape. It just kind of, it's an easy way to start. It's something I like to play with. And I have a lot of canvases that I paint over and this and that, but I also decided I would cut one up and make these flowers from it to collage with.
Mm,
And just a way of getting myself doing things.
yeah,
And I kind of liked it and decided I would play with it some more. That was the last one that I sent you. I still haven't glued the flowers down. I do think I will make more of them in different shapes and sizes. But you know, and I do these layers on canvas. You can't really do it on the paper, but with many layers of the acrylic paint and
yeah, I can actually bring that up because it's in my,
yeah.
blah, 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 blah.
Actually, one of the first ones that I did is like that.
Let me just, yeah, let me get your
Mhm.
email here, because that would be a better way to
Yeah.
see it.
But it's not polyurethane. What's that? The acrylic gloss. It's like a high
Yeah.
gloss that you put in over the layers of acrylic, and then you can move them around and change them. There we go.
Right.
So-
Yeah.
So you can sort of comb through it, and
Mhm.
you know the
Oh, yeah,
colors
tell,
really
yeah.
stay.
Yeah.
So it's fun to play with. And then I had a stencil from something I did years ago, and I put that down. That's the grasses coming up.
Mhm.
And I spray painted over that, masking off other areas. So I had fun playing with my different materials that I'd like to use.
Yeah.
And then threw the flowers on it. I'm like, I don't know, it's very cheerful, certainly. It is, you know, I often find that I do these cheerful things to cheer myself up, not because I'm usually in a really bad place when I
Yeah.
do them.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
yeah, actually, when I first started painting was when I had to put my mom in a nursing home.
Yeah.
And everything I'd look at from then, or, you know, these big giant seahorses and beautiful fish and very colorful things. And I do think that was like this effort to do something cheerful. So,
Yeah,
so
I
that's,
understand. I totally understand. And
yeah, I like to work with beautiful colors, what I think are
Mhm.
beautiful colors.
Mm.
So, so I, you know, and I think I'll just keep going with it. As I said earlier, just to see where it takes me. And
Well, so I have a couple of suggestions for you.
Yep. Mhm.
So first of all, when I look at this background,
Mhm.
you know, it's tumultuous. The
Yeah.
marks you're making and the colors you're using. So without the flowers, you know, there's a lot happening back there.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that, you know, is kind of, you know, take that apart and explore mark making with your paint. I
Mhm.
mean, it's not that, look, you know, we all have different reasons for doing our work. And of course, getting into it and just simply doing it is really, really important. But I wonder, you know, in order to have this, you know, effort sustain you, Laurel, and I think that's
Yeah.
what we're all about, sustenance that feeds you and gives you places to go. You know, there's more in this background, I think,
Mhm.
that could be explored. As far as the cutouts, I mean, there is a way in which it's decorative. Sometimes that's, you know, kind of a bad word in the art world, but
Yeah.
then you can also use it very cleverly to be, you know, almost so soupy sweet that it's grating, you know, like you could almost go,
Yeah.
you know, take that and like I
It's a
don't know
little
if you know
in-
do you know this artist? He's a Japanese artist. Oh my gosh. Let me just see if I can, is it Takamura? Oh, there's
Mhm.
a younger Japanese artist who's working now. Toshimura. Let me just quickly see if I can bring him up on
Mhm.
the web. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me just see, artist, Japanese pop. All right, let me just see what comes up here.
Well, yeah, I know what you mean, though. It can be kind of in your face, that all these
Yes,
cute
so I
flowers,
think
yeah.
of him as somebody who just takes it to the edge of the possible. Hold on, let me just,
Mhm.
let's just see if it, pop imagery. Usually I think of these names when I'm not teaching. And then, Takashi Murakami. Oh, yes. So here's
Oh,
this guy
wow.
who like
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
like overdoes it with his stuff
His
that it's just
smiley faces, yeah.
and Hello Kitties, and it's like, really,
Yeah.
really bizarrely wow. Like this was at the MFA actually, a Murakami.
Oh.
Hold on. So let's just see if
I missed that, yeah.
his
Mhm.
Google page with the images, because really he's like, whoa, here you go.
Yeah,
Like, and it's giant, and you stand in front of this, and it's just it takes such a cliche and makes it so overwhelming and overpowering that you cannot discount it. And
Right.
that's another thing to think about as you're working.
Well, yeah, and I think of that woman, I think she's also Japanese, who does the huge polka
Oh,
dots.
yes, he's another
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Right.
And so you're right, you have to push it.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure I want to, but
Right.
but it's fun to play with it for a while
Exactly.
and see what happens, because I do feel, I think I said to you in an email that, the world is full of ugly. So
Yeah.
it's okay. We need to balance it with some maybe a little kitschy. We still like flowers kind
Well,
of thing.
that's true.
Yeah.
So, I guess I'm just saying that, there are people to look at who are who can give us sort of,
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I do like the backgrounds. I mean, if you look at my pieces that I did, that I showed you, so the one that's, that one there,
right.
you can see the
Nice.
background in that really is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Laurel, how
mean-
do you get that kind of, it has a 3D quality to it, it kind of
Uh-huh.
that ribbony look. How does that achieve?
That is from layering the acrylic high gloss in between layers of paint and letting them dry. And then putting down 3 or 4 colors and using, actually, it's kind of like a comb. It's an instrument that people use a lot in making ceramics. And you run it through, it combines the colors, and it makes this nice, interesting surface with the colors. And then put a layer of the gloss that protects it from other layers that you want to put on. Like I'd like to do the little bars of color. And over time, you just get these that 3D effect. And sometimes I just keep working on it until I do, because I don't really know exactly which combinations of colors and things are going to work until I do it, which is frustrating.
It's cool.
So, okay. I mean, Laurel, what I would love to see from you, if this is something that you're, okay with doing, would be to kind of break out of, just for this week only, break out of, how to do this, right? And so you're going to end up doing it over and over again. And it kind of keeps you in a little box.
Yeah.
What would it feel like to take just some paper? Like I would suggest a heavier paper, something like Reeves BFK, because it's so absorbent. And how would it feel to take a lot of big brushes and simply play with the color on it and just make backgrounds? Just get that out of your system and see what you can do. Maybe, you can still use your comb. I mean, there's no reason why you can't use other things, but to make like 5 20 by 30 size pieces of paper that simply have backgrounds that maybe you even think about as, oh, well, this is just going to be a background, and see what comes out.
Okay.
you know,
That's
because I
good.
think that, you know, you have, you know, all these really interesting ways of working. You're, you know, quite skilled in terms of your technique, but also
Mhm.
then it can confine you, and it also, you know, the idea of making, you know, beautiful work, like I would just sort of question what we all think is beautiful. I mean,
Mhm.
that can be many things. It doesn't have to be necessarily the kitschy or sort of
Mhm.
the conventionally pretty. And in some ways it can be very cloying. You know, you might want to just question, am I making this for myself or am I making it to please other people? Because
Mhm.
I wonder if you made something beautiful for yourself, would it still really look like this?
Hmm.
You know, we have
Um,
conventions and we think
yeah.
about, you know, our flowers as always being pretty, but they don't even have to be pretty. I mean, that a flower is actually up close, you know, incredibly sophisticated. I think of George O'Keeffe. I think of people who
Mhm.
use flowers, and they're not just pretty pictures.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So I just push back at
Mhm.
you a little bit because I'm
Mhm.
assuming that this is what we want to do in this class, is to push a little bit
Oh yeah.
deeper
Mhm.
and question that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So,
Mhm.
all right, that's something that I would prescribe to you.
Okay.
Thank you. And Tammy, last but not least, let's see, you're up here.
Yeah.
What's been going on in your neck of the woods there?
So I'm,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So talking about like really funky things, I did a project at church for Easter,
Yeah.
where like I'm in, so the church is in Brooklyn and it's run by lesbians and it's like Protestant or whatever, but it feels like really like wild and it's full of artists. So one of the things I did for the group on Zoom, I physically mailed like heaps and 3D glasses and a whole bunch of like glittery things and whatever. And I was like, just take pictures of peeps and
Yeah.
you know, position them and just like do something fun and whatever. And so like these are some of the pictures that I shared where I'm like, I'm kind of allowing the peeps to like go a little crazy on my workspace.
Everybody here knows what peeps are, right? Do we?
Oh yeah.
The little marshmallow.
Marshmallowy, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but you were talking about like how to do tributes and be grateful or whatever. There were a
Hmm.
lot of other people who also participated and they came up with these really beautiful things and they like brought the peeps to another church with them and whatever. And
Hmm.
it was just this fun, playful thing,
Yeah.
you know, and it kind of and it changed the scale also
Yeah.
as well, because I feel like I've been seeing my workspace as a room and suddenly like my table is this whole like, you know, dragon and you know, kingdom
Hmm.
and a fun play. And
Yeah.
because I just love the colors and the shapes and the, you know, and just being able to play with it. So it's sort of like here's the peep like, you know, doing this and playing with this and so and
Yes.
so, you know, like,
I mean, that's really charming. That's so interesting, Tammy. I mean, yeah, take peep in the desert, peep in the cactus.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Well, that's, that's quite
And
interesting.
then like yeah, so that's the sunset that I look at every day. And then
Oh, oops.
I no, in that leaf, so that leaf I had used on a jelly print,
Yeah.
right? And then I just like threw it outside and for some reason like this leaf just hasn't been blowing away,
Oh my God, that is
you
super
know.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it becomes like a metaphor, right? I mean, what do you see? You know, what's a metaphor of something that's, you know, just so sort of unexpected and almost jarring, like this, a blue leaf in the midst of, you know, ones that are brown. I mean, that's
Right.
a metaphorical
Yeah.
piece. What do you guys think? I mean, how would you read that? Tammy, how do you read it?
So I read it as the persistence of art because I literally like just threw the leaf out the door one day,
Yeah.
you know, because I'm like, oh, let it go back to nature, whatever. And like it's just brown on the other side. So it's very, I could have very easily, it could have flipped on the other side. You would think with the paint down, like that's how it would have blown away,
Hmm.
you know, but I'm walking around my
Right.
house and it's like, it's not, it's kind of
But
You know,
yeah,
and there's so many dried leaves too throughout like my yard, because I don't
Yeah.
really like, get rid of all of them. And you know, I have neighbors who do. So this is a whole other metaphor, right? I have neighbors who love to always start with a fresh thing. And, you know, like I live in a very old house, right? It's going to be 100 years next year. And I love it. And I love the layers of memories that build
Yeah.
up.
yeah,
But, you know, I had my neighbors on either side, like they moved away and somebody died, and they just took those houses to the ground, pulled up all of the trees,
oh,
and just got rid of absolutely everything and built these horrible, like mini, you know, McMansions or whatever.
yeah,
And, you know, so I feel like there's something about the persistence of beauty and memory. And like, there's something to be said for not wanting to always start with a clean slate. Because I think and especially in the world of like technology and computers,
Yeah.
everybody's like, oh, anything that happened before everything was put online doesn't exist. And I'm like, no, of course it exists. Like, just because you can't like Google it doesn't
Right.
mean that.
Well,
it's
Tammy, I
not
think,
worth it.
I think you should write down some of the things you're thinking, because I think that, is a very powerful statement about, really close to your heart. And it may be something that reveals itself in your work.
Yeah.
I mean, all right. Well, I just want to go back to this because I have been thinking a lot about, talking about metaphor, and how best to do that. But so, not so much this green one, but if I just look at this blue, leaf that's so different and from everything else around it, I feel that it expresses a kind of, um, powerful statement about an individual standing out from the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's something also kind of like, I mean, it has a like, it's unnatural that the leaf is blue. So that's probably not a good thing. So that's another way to think about it. But it also is sort of, as you said, persistence, but also,
And
sort of evaluating.
I was gonna say like the leaves turn green because of chlorophyll,
Yeah,
right? So it's sort of like this leaf is kind of reflecting the sky.
yeah.
That's
When
nice.
we
Yeah,
had
that's true
gotten all
too.
of
So
this,
anyway, I
Yeah.
just think, as we do our work, we can start to see a metaphor in
Mm.
the work, which I think, helps us to discover the poetry that we have inside of ourselves.
That's it.
And, I think it's like, when that wonderful woman stood up and read the poet, or spoke her poem at Biden's,
Yeah. Amanda Gorman.
Thank you. You think that I would remember her name? Amanda spoke. She could have gone, somebody else could have gotten up in there, said, blah, 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 we need to think forward and we need to, but she was a poet, and those words reach people far more than if somebody just stood up there and read, a paragraph, right? I mean,
Right.
it moved everybody so much, so we were all in tears. So it's like, that's what happens with art. It's that we seem to need that. We need metaphor. We need to say something is this, but we know it's not this. We know that it's representing something else, and it seems to gain in its power. So
Yeah. Absolutely. And like, this is why I love abstract things. It's like, it can be a trigger, or like it can set in motion a series of thoughts.
that's right. Rather than being so, dried and saying, this is what it is. This is a blue leaf on a bed of brown, but no, it's more than that, it's more than that. Of course, it takes the viewer to bring that to the picture too. But
Yeah.
it is something that I think makes us more human to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing I want to say too is that I'm interested that you did this for your church, Tammy, and it says to me, maybe your art making is going to sort of involve other people.
Yeah.
And that's great to know. Like your art might be about engagement with other people. Your art might not be finished until it has engaged with other people.
Right. Because
And that's
at the
also-
end, I put all the pictures into a PowerPoint, and we showed it during church, and
Well,
like everybody really
exactly.
loved it. Yeah.
I mean, how cool is that?
You have an
And
immediate
you-
audience.
You could
That's
be
great.
somebody who does, so there's another woman, and let me just show everybody really quickly about this, and then we're gonna get to work. I hope you don't mind my, spending this time, but I do think that it
No,
can be
this is fabulous.
helpful.
Yeah.
There's a woman, oh God, I'm not gonna, all right, I just have to find it. She has done this project called Before I Die.
Ooh.
And it's a public art project that exists. It's a global art project that invites people to reflect on death and share their personal responses to what do you want to do before you die. And what she does is, well, to invite people to reflect upon their mortality and consider the things that matter most. And so what she does is she gives communities, anybody who wants to do this can download this this stencil that you can just take into your community, find an empty wall and spray paint onto the wall, and then have people respond to, before I die, I want to blah blah blah. And it's quite amazing to see this, and it's all about responses.
Wow.
Some are funny, some are sad, some are poetic, but you get all these people finding a way to give meaning to their words, to their lives in a public way. And I just find this so moving and almost brings chills to my
Yeah.
to myself here. It's world. So what a great thing to give to the world.
Mhm.
To talk about making your art meaningful to other people. So there are lots of artists who find that their work ends up being about presenting things like this to the public.
Right.
So the art is the way that they generate helping other people make art. So anyway, what do you guys think about that? Pretty interesting, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I
It
was
is
going to say that this is perfect. I belong to a grief group, and that's run by the hospice that my mom was in, and they have different groups or whatever. And there's like the year group, and then there's like the year 2 of like mourning a parent, it's parent loss or whatever. And so
Yeah.
I've just sort of graduated from one group to another, but I feel like I've bonded with all of the people in the first group. So it's like, how can we figure out some kind of project where we
Mm.
can all participate
Yeah.
and we can have something that connects us, and still keep working without, having to worry about like what group are you in, what year are you in, and all that. So
Mm.
I really love that.
Tammy,
I'm
you
going to
may
share
have
that.
really kind of found something there. And I also, noticed that you're so engaging as a person. You really reach out. You're very gracious, and I think that in combination could, and I think you're not shy about being in public.
Yeah.
That this could be something that you might really grasp onto as a way of working.
Yeah.
It
Like,
could be really
so
satisfying.
yeah,
Maybe-
like no, I was going to say like I worked in theater, but I always prefer working backstage, and like being a producer or a stage manager or whatever, and like letting everybody else shine too. So it's like, I love the idea of like, here's a really great idea. Now like go crazy with it.
So your homework would be, could I suggest a homework for you?
Yeah, please.
I'd love to, maybe have you sit down and come up with a couple of projects that you'd love to see, to do with people. Just brainstorm, pie in the sky.
Yeah.
And bring them to us and let's see.
Okay.
All right, great, everybody.
Yeah, I love that because I already have a whole bunch in mind. So yeah, this will be great.
Great. And this
Any
is how,
excuse.
yeah, sure. And this is how we can help each other identify what can be the heart of a practice of making art that becomes really meaningful to us,
Yeah.
And I open this, say to all of us, think of these others in our class and what might occur to you to help them as well.
Yeah.
It can be really, this is the part of the class that I love. I love trying to help people identify what it is that might really just get them going. It doesn't mean that you can't do painting and drawing. It doesn't mean that you have to not do other things. I'm just saying that, if you can find an excitement about something there that works
Yeah.
for a while, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I've had a lot of people say, "Oh, Tammy, you should be a teacher." And I'm like, I don't want to teach. Like, I don't have like the experience or the skills or whatever, but I love facilitating,
Yeah.
you know? So
Yeah,
it's
well,
like, that's
totally, totally. Yeah, and I also looked at your website, the one about the Concord. You guys all
Transcendental
should take
Concord,
a
yeah.
check. Yeah, and that's what a great thing that is. So you've got a whole little like, Tammy, what's your website again? It's Concord,
Transcendentalconcord.com.
Transcendental Concord. Wait, hold on a second. We just have to quickly do this because we have the time today because we have fewer people, but it's really Concord.com. This is a, oh, what?
Yeah,
What
no,
is
you
the one?
I think suspending, yeah, transcendent, there's an extra T in there.
Oh, yeah, transcend, oh, let me do this again. Transcendental Concord. There we go. Okay. This is pretty darn cool.
Oh, thank
You've
you.
got a podcast too, girl, right?
Yeah, so here's the thing. So I like, this is me trying to like figure out how to be a history nerd during COVID.
Yeah.
And
For
and so
you.
yeah,
That's
so
great.
the podcast is me reading like 10 or 20 minutes of the book Walden and then talking about it
I
as somebody who
love
like
it.
has swum in Walden my whole life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then I have a YouTube video series where I'm kind of like, let me just get on Zoom with like an author that I really, really love, and let's just talk for an hour so
Great.
they can,
See,
so yeah. So it's
you
like
are
all
amazing. I mean, who knew? I didn't know that you did this. This is wonderful. I
yeah.
think
And
that
then,
this is such an interesting idea. It is fascinating.
yeah. Well, and it's really interesting the people who have been attracted to it, because I feel
Yeah.
like there are a lot of people who are like who've loved like who've loved Concord, they love history, they love whatever, but they're not like PhDs and they're
Right.
not, like but they just love reading about history and how Louisa May Alcott knew Henry David Thoreau and they hung out and they like went,
Yes.
berry picking together and all of these
Yes.
relationships.
Yes.
Um, and so yeah, so this Facebook group is still going, and then we did a book, we still are doing a book group.
I just think
So
this has so much, well, that's another conversation. Well, thank you. I mean, I just wanted to make sure that the others of us saw this because
That's great. I'm gonna look that up for
part
sure.
of your practice. I mean, that's a big part of who you are. So
yeah,
check
and it was about like letting myself also say yes,
yeah,
because it was like my mom was sick with cancer and our whole lives were about like going to the doctor. So I was like, how can I bring joy to both of us? And
Love it. I love
reach
it.
out. And we have like, there's somebody from Brazil, there's somebody from South Dakota,
This is amazing.
Virginia, and they're like, I never would have been able to like attend anything in Concord, right? But it's like this is also my passion. So we're all like bonded and connected, and it's like
It's really
amazing.
wonderful. And yeah, it is pretty cool to be living, so near when all that happened and how close it really is. I think the older I get, the more I see that it wasn't that long ago. It felt like
Exactly.
so long ago to me, but now it wasn't that long ago. And these ideas, are so much a part of the American scape.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway.
so I was wait, so
Yeah.
and today is the day that Emerson had passed away.
Huh.
Oh,
So it's sort of like this is a special thing
Whoa.
too, where it's like his ghost is kind of hovering, and his whole thing, like, and he sort of started the whole movement where he's like,
Yes.
he had trained to be a preacher, and then he married a woman, he was madly in love with her, and then she died 6 months after they were married, and then
no.
he left organized religion because he's like, he's like, why do I need to have a person in between me and God? And he's like, just go out into nature, and nature will speak to you directly.
Yeah. Wow.
And started this whole thing. So it's like, it's very lovely to be recognized on the day that he transitioned.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good job.
Wow, we recognize
Really
you.
great.
I think this is fabulous.
Really?
So I think these are all seeds that are part and parcel of who you are and what your practice can be. Okay, so I want us to do some art in class now. And this is a challenge. Rather, no, I mean, not a challenge, horrible. I mean, this is your challenge today, which is the word duality. So
What?
I was trying to think duality.
Duality.
Duality, yes. I was looking for a kind of a prompt today that could help us, with this idea of metaphor. And it's a concept, that can be expressed in so many different ways. But I wonder, and in fact, Laura, no, who was it? We were talking about today. Somebody was, yeah, Laurel, you must have been. Yes, you were saying it, that wow, putting those two things together creates a duality, and that's pretty interesting. So it has you can think about the idea of juxtaposition, two things together that, are really diametrically opposed, or a way in which, and like, for example, if you were doing painting, how you could express that idea of duality, of two things happening at the same time, of two things that are really different from each other, or two things that are really two sides of the same coin. I mean, it's a really open word, which is what I love. When you think of a concept that has so much, so many possibilities in it, it's very rich, it's very fertile. It doesn't mean that you have to try and do it all, but there is, instead of just staring at a white sheet of paper and trying to figure out how to start, if you have this idea in mind, it can really be helpful. So I wonder if you could take the next half an hour to explore this idea of duality. And, it could be with your paint, it could be with drawing, it could be with collage. It really could be with anything. It could be with photography. In the next 30 minutes, you could go outside and take a walk and come back with a whole bunch of pictures that express this idea of duality. Could be that you make up an image to take, that maybe you're not going to find it, but it's there. It could be something in the written word. But I would just love for you to just take 30 minutes, not a long time, to express it in any way that seems appropriate to you. And I'm hoping that this will also give you freedom to break away from what you think your art making is supposed to be. And so it can be something that's really that you would never do, which is fine. Like, do something you would never do. Like, oh my God, I could never do that. Just do it. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Only half an hour. It's not a long time. So go, and we'll check back in at about 11:45. All right.
Okay.
All right. And I'm here if you need me to whine too.
What a challenge.
I'm here. Complain too, bitch and moan. All right, whatever. Go. Okay, so I'm going to mute everybody, but feel free to unmute if you need to ask me anything. All right. And feel free to turn off your camera too if you feel that it gives you more privacy and gives you less, people watching you, whatever. So we'll see you. We'll see you at about 11:45, and then we will check in and see what happened. Okay, we have about 10 more minutes. Remember, this doesn't have to be just one thing. It could be a couple of things, could be rough, does not have to be a complete finished piece. This is just responding to this prompt in whatever ways you like. Okay, everybody, come on back. Still have a couple more minutes, but go ahead and upload whatever you've got to our Padlet so we can take a look. And also unmute yourselves. Okay, just yeah, go ahead and put them up or email them to me, whatever is most easy for you.
We can see your Gmail.
Yes, I know. I
Oh,
just,
sorry.
that's right. I know. Just was doing a quick, all right, there we go. Going to go to Padlet now.
No, you could totally like do your Gmail. I don't want to like
Yeah, no.
guilt you about that. I just want to let you know we can see.
Yeah, thank you. No worries, no worries. Okay, everybody. So I'm hoping that we have things up here. Everybody had a chance to put a couple of things up?
I'm still.
I emailed some to you.
Okay, great. Very good.
So that would be faster. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever works for you. Absolutely. Doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm very curious to know, what this was like. Let's see, does somebody does have stuff on here? Tally, do you have things on your Padlet?
Not yet. Give me
Okay.
another few minutes.
Okay. Let's see. We'll just wait here for a second.
Adria, I think I have one at least.
Okay.
Let's see.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, the contrast of the live beautiful daffodil against the dark, dead leaves and stone. I just thought the duality of that. That was all I could. I was just trying to think duality. It was not something that just came right away.
Yeah.
But then I thought, well, yeah, there's so much in my yard that sings out duality. I mean, really, there's so many dead leaves and so that sort of thing, grass that has to be cleaned up. But right now there are these beautiful little flowers that are popping up here and there that I haven't ever seen before because I've never lived here before.
That's right. Yeah, well, there's duality everywhere you look. Really, and I think that is, of course, a wonderful one is, the things that come up and the rebirth of spring and the, the rebirth of the flowers in the spring for sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I did put others, but they haven't come on yet, I guess.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, they should come right away. Let's see. That's interesting that they can come up there. All right. Let's see. Oh, well.
Sometimes it takes a little while, but let's see.
All right. Well, you know what? We'll come back to you. We'll come back. All right. Let's go see.
You can see if mine have loaded. Yeah,
right.
because I kind of did the same thing.
Okay. Let's see.
So I had started like doing flowers and contrast and stuff. And then I realized that there's a whole, like I'm always noticing animals.
Ah.
So I started taking pictures from where I had seen animals.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is the squirrel's eye view,
Oh.
rabbit's eye view of
Yeah.
me.
Well, that's a
I'm
good
always trying to
idea.
take pictures of them.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So the duality is sort of implied then.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's
Interesting.
like letting them be the
Uh-huh.
viewer.
Yeah, yeah, well, that's it. You know, that's what I mean. This concept is so open, you know, so many different ways. That's very clever. Tammy, yeah,
Yeah. So like I saw a raccoon there,
Oh
like
my
just
God,
coming
how
down my
funny.
walk. And I was
Yeah,
like, what is,
yeah.
you know, and robins, I see robins on my driveway all the
Exactly.
time. And I'm like, that's
What do they see? Yeah.
what do they see?
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of robins. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting. All right, that's a great take. I love that take. All right, let's go see. Anybody else here on Padlet?
I sent some email
Okay,
and
let's go
there's,
to email then. Yeah.
and there's 2 on Padlet.
Oh, there's 2 on Padlet. Okay, Tammy. All right. Well, we'll start with the Padlet and then we'll go to email for everybody. Looks like that was easier. All right, Tammy, I'd rather Tally. Yeah. So duality here. Interesting.
Oh, I love it.
Trumpet cigarette.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. Wow. Well, so many dualities here. I mean,
Yes,
there's a plethora of dualities there, right? Yeah. Okay, yeah. All right. And I mean, you know, yes,
That one.
the ones that were that are so striking. And I think, you know,
there's sort of a difference in texture as well as color.
exactly. Yeah, right, for sure. And the man-made versus the natural too. So many,
Right.
many dualities.
The others are on 2 different emails.
Okay, so let me go to my email and then we'll check that out. Okay, great. All right, well, Tally, since we started with you, we'll just keep going with your dualities here. Okay, that's a stuffed animal.
Stuffed animal with some art behind.
Okay,
You can't even tell they're people, but I just ran into it. I thought it was funny.
it is funny. It is funny. Yeah.
More difference in texture.
Yes, and color to some extent for sure. I saw that one. And so, yeah, I mean, what is this whole exercise kind of makes you, I'm hoping that it makes us look again at the things that are around us to
Mhm.
not just see them at face value, but to understand some of the concepts that they might bring to mind.
Mhm.
Right. That's an interesting one. Visually, that's also very interesting, I think,
Mm.
with your zipper there. All right, thank you, Tally. Great.
welcome.
And then we have Laurel. Let's see what you, all right, somebody took to the paint. Yeah. Laurel, for
Mhm.
you, duality, of course, back the swoops of the background and the sort of,
That one is actually they're in reverse order on when I
oh,
sent them.
okay. All right, let's just see if I can.
The kind of, yeah, because I sort of thought heaven and earth. And
Yes.
this
I mean,
is
exactly.
yeah. And then the next one, I just put in some ocean, but again, it's kind of just about, I think of duality as heaven and earth.
Yeah, but also I see the duality in your texture and your approach to the, to the market.
Yeah. As things start to come together.
Yes.
And then this one is actually kind of Stairway to Heaven, where you've got the stones going through the sky, whatever. It's just kind of started to come together like that.
Great.
It was
Okay.
fun.
Well, good. This is a little bit of a different kind of an exercise. I did want to quickly show you this video that I found online that I felt was really wonderful, and I want to keep circling back to our this concept of metaphor as we continue to be in this class. So let me just. I want to show you this wonderful video that I happen to find that I think is just really puts it in a very wonderful way. So let's just take a look at this.
When we talk, sometimes we say things directly. I'm going to the store. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Other times, though, we talk in a way that conjures up a small scene. It's raining cats and dogs out, we say. Or I was waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Can everybody hear okay?
Nope, but I,
No,
All right, let me go back and just, I have to optimize the share screen for the video. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. Okay. Let me just start this. Okay.
5 minutes. Other times, though, we talk in a way that conjures up a small scene. It's raining cats and dogs out, we say. Or I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. Metaphors are a way to talk about one thing by describing something else. That may seem roundabout, but it's not. Seeing and hearing and tasting are how we know anything first. The philosopher William James described the world of newborn infants as a buzzing and blooming confusion. Abstract ideas are pale things compared to those first bees and blossoms. Metaphors think with the imagination and the senses. The hot chili peppers in them explode in the mouth and the mind. They're also precise. We don't really stop to think about a raindrop the size of an actual cat or dog, but as soon as I do, I realize that I'm quite certain the dog has to be a small one, a Cocker Spaniel or a Dachshund, and not a Golden Lab or Newfoundland. I think a beagle might be about right. A metaphor isn't true or untrue in any ordinary sense. Metaphors are art, not science, but they can still feel right or wrong. A metaphor that isn't good leaves you confused. You know what it means to feel like a square wheel, but not what it's like to be tired as a whale. There's a paradox to metaphors. They almost always say things that aren't true. If you say, there's an elephant in the room, there isn't an actual one looking for the peanut dish on the table. Metaphors get under your skin by ghosting right past the logical mind. Plus, we're used to thinking in images. Every night we dream impossible things, and when we wake up, that way of thinking still in us. We take off our dream shoes and button ourselves into our lives. Some metaphors include the words like or as, sweet as honey, strong as a tree. Those are called similes. A simile is a metaphor that admits it's making a comparison. Similes tend to make you think. Metaphors let you feel things directly. Take Shakespeare's famous metaphor, all the world's a stage. The world is like a stage, just seems thinner and more boring. Metaphors can also live in verbs. Emily Dickinson begins a poem, I saw no way, the heavens were stitched. And we know instantly what it would feel like if the sky were a fabric sewn shut. They can live in adjectives too. Still waters run deep, we say of someone quiet and thoughtful, and the deep matters as much as the stillness and the water do. One of the clearest places to find good metaphors is in poems. Take this haiku by the 18th century Japanese poet Issa. On a branch floating down river, a cricket singing. The first way to meet a metaphor is just to see the world through its eyes. An insect sings from a branch passing by in the middle of the river. Even as you see that, though, some part of you recognizes in the image a small portrait of what it's like to live in this world of change and time. Our human fate is to vanish as surely as that small cricket will, and still we do what it does. We live, we sing. Sometimes a poem takes a metaphor and extends it, building on one idea in many ways. Here's the beginning of Langston Hughes's famous poem, Mother to Son. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor. Langston Hughes is making a metaphor that compares a hard life to a wrecked house you still have to live in. Those splinters and tacks feel real. They hurt your own feet and your own heart. But the mother is describing her life here, not her actual house. And hunger and cold, exhausting work and poverty are what's also inside those splinters. Metaphors aren't always about our human lives and feelings. The Chicago poet Carl Sandburg wrote, "The fog comes on little cat feet. It sits looking over harbor and city on silent haunches, and then moves on." The comparison here is simple. Fog is being described as a cat. But a good metaphor isn't a puzzle or a way to convey hidden meanings. It's a way to let you feel and know something differently. No one who's heard this poem forgets it. You see fog, and there's a small gray cat nearby. Metaphors give words a way to go beyond their own meaning. They're handles on the door of what we can know and of what we can imagine. Each door leads to some new house and some new world that only that one handle can open. What's amazing is this: by making a handle, you can make a world.
Okay.
Wow. I
it-
love
That's
that
great.
last metaphor of the handle.
Mm.
That was
Yeah,
great.
it is about poetry, but I, see so many similarities to art making, visual or metaphor. And so will send you another really wonderful video that I found. It's a little bit longer for you to watch on your own, which addresses this too. But I want you to keep it on the back burner because we will be diving into this. And I feel like it's a really important part of the practice to as we look at each other's work and also as we think about making our own. So this little exercise about duality is a bit of a prod in that direction. So yeah, we're going to end today, but I look forward to seeing you all next week. And I think what we had said during when we were looking, everybody has some marching orders, but I will try to write it down so that you can remember. But some of you I had given special assignments to. Connie, I think yours is just to keep on going with this stuff. I mean, all of you, I think we were able to identify really strong directions that could be fruitful to explore. So just keep doing what you're doing. See where it takes you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good week.